On the night of January 23, 2023, a Seattle police officer fatally strikes a 23-year-old female student while the officer is en route to assist with an emergency medical call for an overdose.
The first of an overdose, he is calling it in himself. His name is Alex. He's refusing to give the rest of the scene. He wants to stay on the phone with us until he arrives.
The officer would never make it to that scene. In the next 90 seconds, he would have his own emergency to deal with. We'll break down this video, highlighting 8 possible factors that contributed to this fatal incident.
Mary 2, start a supervisor, start fire for a struck pedestrian.
Factor 1. The crosswalk. We can't see it from the video, but the officer admits the pedestrian was in the crosswalk. In this situation, the pedestrian was in the correct area to cross the road. Had the officer yielded at crosswalks in this scenario, he could have avoided hitting the pedestrian. Factor 2. Time of day. In this case, there was relatively good street lighting, but any scenario at night will hinder how well a driver can see hazards in the road, regardless of the situation. Factor 3. Visual obstacles. At the scene of the crash, there was also construction on the right-hand side of the road. This construction might have made the pedestrian harder to see from a distance. Conversely, the cruiser may have also been difficult to see from the pedestrian's perspective, which we will cover in a later point. Factor 4. The rate of speed. This was the biggest factor in this situation becoming fatal. During the initial impact, the speedometer reaches somewhere between 72 and 58 miles per hour. Even with the most beneficial estimate of the officer's speed, this was not a survivable crash. Even in the unlikely event that the officer was traveling only 58 miles an hour, the chance of this being survivable was in the single percentile. The fact that the incident involved a large SUV equipped with a steel push bumper did not help matters. Factor 5. Proper visual signaling. The police squad had its emergency lights activated during the incident. Of the hundreds of evidentiary photos taken of the scene, several photos show the perspective a pedestrian would have had for the approaching police SUV. While their lights are visible, it is important to note that the cruiser was traveling at a high rate of speed and the pedestrian had only seconds to react. Factor 6. Audible warnings. While the officer was en route to the initial emergency he was called to, he failed to consistently use his sirens. This was a medical call, so it's unknown at the time why the officer did not use his sirens for the full response. The officer did chirp the vehicle periodically at the intersections, and you can hear him do it once more before the impact. Had the officer utilized his cruiser's audible warnings to their full capacity, this tragedy might have been avoided. Factor 7. Time to treatment. The officer is surprisingly collected after the impact. He immediately notifies other officers of the situation and begins CPR shortly after.
3 Mary 2, start a supervisor, start fire for a struck pedestrian.
Is it the same location, sir?
Negative, I'm going to be on Aurora.
Thomas. Dexter and Thomas. A-firm, I'm okay.